Good morning, TK, and welcome back. Happy Monday. This is week 6 of distant learning. I cannot believe that it has been over a month, almost 6 weeks, that I have not seen you guys, gotten to give you a hug, or see your little smiling faces in person. And before we start today's lesson, I really just want to tell you guys that I miss you so much every single day. I wish that we could be back in the classroom together, bouncing ideas off of each other and learning with each other. But for now, we are still continuing to do the best job that we can at home. I am still working hard to make sure that you guys are learning. So I want you guys to continue working hard and just know that we are going to be reunited again very soon. Okay, so with that being said, I wanted to let you guys know that we are all done with theme 7 of our learning this year, and we are officially onto the last theme of the year. And that theme is called moving on, okay? And that is because you guys are getting ready to finish TK in just a few short weeks and move on to be big, strong, tall kindergartners. So we are going to start preparing for that. It doesn't mean that you're already going off to kindergarten and I'm going to say bye to you. It just means that we're going to start thinking about some ideas about how we have grown and how we want to continue to grow. So we are going to start this week by introducing the theme for the week. So I know the theme for the next 4 weeks is moving on, but the theme for this coming week, week 1 of theme 8, is all about going new places, okay? And I know that we have all gone somewhere new at one point. Just this year, there were several of you who were completely new to St. Matthias, right? You had never been to St. Matthias, and it was a whole new experience for you. And since you started at St. Matthias, we have done a lot of things that have been hard, and we have done some things that have been a little bit easier. But during that process, I bet you didn't even notice that you have learned and grown so much, and you should be very, very proud of that. So I want to start by just having you guys take a second to think about maybe some couple of things, maybe like 1 or 2 things that you remember learning this year that you didn't know last year, before you were in TK. So let's take a second to think about a couple of things. Okay, let's close our eyes, and I'm going to be thinking about some things that I know you guys might have learned as well. So let's take like 5 seconds. Okay, did you think of something that you learned this year? Give me a thumbs up if you did. Okay, great. So one thing that I can think about you guys learning was how to write your name. Okay, so at the beginning of the school year, there was several of my students, several of you who still did not know how to hold a pencil, right? And maybe at the beginning you were thinking, well, this is really hard. I don't think I can hold a pencil. I don't know how to put my fingers. And when we worked together, Miss Portillo helped you, and you took my teaching and my advice, and finally, you were able to hold that pencil. And then you said, okay, well, now I know how to hold the pencil, but I don't know how to write my name. I don't even know my letters, right? And so we had to start small, and we had to start by just tracing those letters every day and getting in that practice. And then by halfway through the year, what happened? You were already writing your name, right? So something that seemed very hard at the beginning, something that seemed like you didn't know if you're ever going to be able to do, you eventually learned, right? And you didn't give up, and you were able to finally do it. And most of you are already writing your last names, which makes me extremely proud, because that shows me that you're ready to move on to kindergarten, and you are ready to move on and go to new places. So in order for us to start this week's theme, I decided that we would explore a book all about going new places. And that book is called In Our Country, okay? So we live in a country called the United States, alrighty? And this is sort of, when we're talking about going new places or moving up, we can refer to it as growing as individuals. So learning how to do new things and learning new things and getting smarter. You can grow in that way personally. And you can also grow through experiences like visiting new places, right? So maybe some of you have traveled somewhere far to go visit a family member at some point. So raise your hand if you remember maybe going out of the country or to another state to go visit a family member or somebody that you know. Raise your hand if you have visited someone. Okay, good. So I see a few of us have already visited some people and gone new places. So as we go through this book, we're going to sort of identify, as we go through this book, we are going to sort of identify some things that we recognize that we might see in the state that we live in, and we're going to identify some things that we are not used to seeing where we live and are a little bit different. So, since we are going to be celebrating growing up and becoming big boys and girls, we're going to celebrate by reading the book all about places that we can visit and exciting new places that we haven't seen. So the first thing I want to do is show you guys a globe, and we're going to look for the United States because that's where we live. So I borrowed Riley's globe that he has in his bedroom. He said I can borrow it. And we're going to turn this big, beautiful globe, and we are going to look for the place that we live in. And I think I already found it. Here we are looking at the map of the U.S., the United States, or America. Okay, a lot of you know it as America. And we live on the west side of the United States. Okay, we live on the west coast near the Pacific Ocean, and we live in a state. I'm going to put this up right here. We live in this long purple state right here. Do you see that with my finger? This is the state of California, okay? And most of you already know that we live in California. But if you look at all of these different colored little shapes in the United States, these all represent a different state in the United States, okay? And there is actually many states in the United States. I bet you did not know that in the United States there's actually 50 states that make up the entire United States. That's why they're called the United, because there's many of them and they are all stuck together, and all of them together make up America, which is where we live. Okay, so we live in the country of America. We live in the state of California, and most of us live in the city of Los Angeles. Okay, so we might live in individual cities or different cities, but we're pretty much all in Los Angeles County, so we just say LA to make it a little bit easier. So now that we have discovered the state that we live in, we're going to be discovering other states in our country. Okay, so are you all ready to begin this book? Perfect, let's start. So, like I said, the book is called In Our Country. That is the title of the book. The author is Susan Canizares. She is the author, and the illustrator is Daniel Moreton. Okay, the illustrator is actually this doesn't have any written or drawn any pictures, but maybe he took some of the photographs. Okay, so In Our Country. Let's begin. This is a map of our country. Okay, so look at all of those states that I was telling you guys about on the globe that are all stuck together. And we usually have them color coded differently so that we can tell that they're separate from each other. Okay, so this is a map of our country. In some parts, there are forests. Okay, in some parts there are forests. Do you think that we have forests in the state of California? Yes, we do. Okay, actually in the state of California, we have several different types of landscapes. In others, there are deserts. Okay, can anybody tell me if they know, do we have deserts in California? Yes, we do. We do have deserts, and if you remember when we were talking about animal habitats, we know that deserts are very hot and dry. Okay. In some parts, there are beaches. Okay, Okay, do you recognize a beach? Have you ever been to a beach in California where we live? Most of us probably have. Yes, California is, or we have an entire coast that is made of the beaches, okay? In others, there are marshes. And I don't think we have any marshes in the state of California. Marshes are usually made in areas that are more humid, and they have these swampy, wet areas where they have alligators and crocodiles and beavers and all of those types of animals that live in swamp-like habitats. Okay, but we do not have marshes in the state of California. In some parts, there are rivers. And in California, we do have rivers. We have some beautiful rivers. One river in particular that is my favorite is the Kern River. Okay, and rivers are formed when when ice melts from the mountains and it rushes down the mountains and it flows down into the ocean somewhere. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of how a river is created. In others, there are lakes. And we also have lots of lakes in the state of California. Lakes are really fun. In some parts, there are canyons. So this is a very famous canyon. It is in the state of Arizona. Okay, so Arizona holds the Grand Canyon, and I'm sure that maybe some of you have been there. It is one of the, I think it's like one of like the oldest naturally made canyons that has been here since, I think the beginning of the creation of Earth. Okay, and the way that it was formed was that all of this water and river would pass through these rocks and it would cut and chip away at the rocks, and that is how the Grand Canyon was formed, just sort of in a nutshell. Okay, in other areas there are prairies, and prairies are like these big flat lands where many times they grow wheat to make bread and other types of foods that are made out of wheat. Okay, and we don't really have too many prairies in California. California has a lot of mountains, and we don't have very many flatlands like other states. Some states that are pretty flat, I believe, are like Chicago. They don't have mountain ranges like we do. Most of their state is very flat, okay, like this picture. In some parts, there are snow-covered mountains. So this looks like somewhere in the Arctic to me, or in a state that's very cold, like Colorado, or states that get a lot of snow. Let's take care of our whole country. And look at these kids. They look like they're getting ready to go plant some plants, maybe in a garden. Just sort of like the way that we do in our class, right? We care for our garden, and we know that it is important to care for our earth. So thank you so much for reading along into our country with me. We are going to be having a lot of exciting talks and lessons in the next 3 to 4 weeks about how we prepare and how we are going to explore new places like the ones that we just saw in our book. And all of this is going to prepare us to move on to kindergarten. Okay, so let's start making that mental adjustment. We are finishing up the last of our alphabet, and we're going to really start digging deep into those special elements that we're going to need for kindergarten, because you all are getting so big and so strong. So thank you so much for tuning into this week's theme introduction. I will see you guys in a little bit.